Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal. We're still slogging away through Lyme 5, the book I helped write at Life Dynamics back in the 1990s. And in this chapter, we're looking at incapacitation. And in this case, Mark did choose 7 women who, at the time we went to press, were still alive and still in an incapacitated state. Now, 3 of those 7 women I verified have since died. I have dates of death for them. The other 4, I don't know. I have, in the companion post that I've linked below, I do have information about the court documents. If anybody can give me information, I'd be grateful. Excuse me. So if we look at the women who I know have since died, Shelby Moran was a 39-year-old mother of 5 when she was given prostaglandin for a safe legal abortion at Illinois Masonic Medical Center in January of 1978. Immediately after the drug was injected, Shelby's blood pressure just spiked. The doctor, John J. Barton, thought that this would be transient, and he left the facility with her in the care of the nurses and whoever else was there. Half an hour later, Shelby went into cardiopulmonary arrest and suffered brain damage due to lack of oxygen, which caused dementia and speech aphasia. She was no longer able to care for herself, much less her 5 children, and required 24-hour care in a nursing home until her death on September 16, 1999, after nearly 22 years. The next case was Venus Ortiz, who was 23 years old when she went for a safe legal abortion at National Abortion Federation member Eastern Women's Center in New York on February 24, 1993. Due to negligence in administering anesthesia, she went into cardiorespiratory arrest, and staff failed to notice and treat it promptly and properly. Venus was left in permanent need of a respirator with profound brain damage. She remained in that state until her death nearly 6 years later in a Staten Island nursing home on December 16, 1998, at the age of 29. And 2 other patients, Dawn Ravenel and Dawn Mack, also died of complications of abortions performed at Eastern. The last of the women who subsequently died was Christy Style, the subject of the documentary Christy's Choice. She underwent an abortion on July 1st, 1993 at Mayfair Women's Center in Aurora, Colorado. The abortion was performed by Dr. Ronald Koseski. During the procedure, Koseski looked up to see that Christy was pale and her lips were turning blue. Her heart had stopped beating. Now, just as was the case in other situations, Koseski lacked both the training and the equipment to properly resuscitate Christy. Now, they called an ambulance and the crew was able to resuscitate her, but she was left blind and in a vegetative state. Her parents cared for her at home, and she remained in that condition for 21 years, 8 months, and 28 days until her death on March 29th, 2015 at the age of 39. Now, the other women I've been unable to determine, but all of them, we did try to find out what had happened to them, and they were all, to our best knowledge, still alive when Lyme 5 went to publication in 1996. Diana had an abortion performed by John Roe 791 on July 21st, 1973. She was admitted to the hospital the next day in a lot of pain and with a high fever. She expelled the retained fetus into a bedpan, but the high fever caused permanent brain damage. Given how long ago she was injured, even if she was very young at the time, she has undoubtedly since passed away. Laverne was a 35-year-old mother of 2 when she underwent an abortion at a Washington, D.C. clinic in November of 1987. The nurse administering the anesthesia accidentally put the tube into her esophagus instead of her trachea. Before that error was discovered, Laverne had suffered oxygen starvation that left her in a persistent vegetative state. And she was still in that state, entered in 1987, as of 96 when we published Lyme 5. Nina underwent an abortion performed by Dr. Yul Choi on January 2nd, 1988. She went to cardiac arrest during the procedure, and like Kosefsky, and like so many other cases I've covered, he lacked both the equipment and the training to properly resuscitate her. As a result, she was left comatose and legally incapacitated, expected to need nursing home care for the remainder of her life. Choi had already performed a fatal abortion on Angel Darty in 1982. And then we have Augusta, who had an abortion performed by John Roe 694 on February 17th of 1992. She hemorrhaged during the procedure and went into respiratory arrest and suffered permanent brain damage that left her incapacitated. And I want you to grasp, abortion injury. You might think, okay, they poked a hole in your uterus, ouch. But nobody thinks abortion injury, you are going to see your daughter, your sister, your mother in a vegetative state or a coma for year after year after year, nearly 22 years before she finally dies.